Welcome to the Relentless Podcast. I'm Darnell Haney, head women's basketball coach at the great Jacksonville University, home of the relentless Lady Dolphins. Today, I bring two of the best generals in the game to the podcast, two black male head coaches. It's awesome to have three black male head coaches on the same call. All of us have been successful. All of us have been able to impact the lives of the young women in our programs, and all of us have worked our butts off to be able to do this and continue to do that. So starting off, I want to make sure that we introduce the OG the right way. Kenny Brooks, head coach at Virginia Tech, 20 seasons as the head coach, as a head coach, 6 at VTech, going into his 6th year. 20 wins in each of the last 5 seasons at Virginia Tech. Listen to this. 11 straight years of 24 wins or more while he was at James Madison before he moved on to Virginia Tech. It's amazing. Coach Brooks, how are you, man? Thanks for coming on.
Hey, man, it's my pleasure. It's my pleasure being in company with great guys like you guys, man. Appreciate it.
Next, we have my brother, Tarrell Robinson, head coach at North Carolina A&T, 162 wins in 8 years as a head coach. Big wins over Clemson and VCU last season, multiple 20-win seasons, and a multitude of success. How you doing, Coach? How you feeling, Chief? Thanks for coming on.
And I'm good, man. Just appreciate, the opportunity to be around you guys.
Nice. So, if you didn't know, these two guys have been extremely instrumental in my journey as a head coach. I remember when Yo left for Ole Miss, and I called Kenny, and Kenny was like, "Dude, you got to take the job. What are you doing?" Right? And then I called Rob. Rob was like, "How much they paying again?" So then he said, "What you gonna do?" But I know what he was saying, and in his own way, and in your own way, Kenny, you were telling me I needed to go and reach my greatest potential, and I appreciate you guys for that, and I thank you for that. We'll start with you, T-Rob. Started as a player at A&T from Fayetteville, North Carolina, correct?
Absolutely.
All right.
Vietnam.
Played at A&T, was a GA on the men's side, assistant women's coach for a time. You bleed the blue and gold, man. Right?
Yeah, man, they can't get rid of me.
Tell us about your journey and what it means to you as far as who you bring in the program as part of your unit.
Well, you know what, man? The crazy thing about even being on the women's side, as you said, I was a GA and went on the women's side for a year for a stint. I was a graduate assistant. And Saudi Roundtree brought me on my second year of grad school. She had fired a guy. Guess he had too much fun at homecoming because it was right after homecoming. And she fired him and offered me an opportunity. I was working the kids out and all that stuff, and she asked me to come on. At the time as a GA, I was only making 12 G's, and the position she offered me was offering 36. I got it. My son was on the way. It was a no-brainer for me to make that jump. So within a year, though, I was like, I'm a boys coach. So I left A&T, went to high school for 2 years, and I'll never forget this. And I'm so thankful for the decision he made. Ernie Nessler, Coach Tim Duncan was the assistant to Dave Odom. His last stint as a head coach at Elon, he had a position open. Position paid $30,000 with no benefits, and I was a finalist for that position. Wanted to be an assistant coach back on the men's side, and he straight up told me. By then, I had 2 kids. He told me, "Tarrell, there's no way I'm offering you this job. You got to take care of your family." He said, "With the hours that this demand and that salary, there's no way your wife." And I'm telling him, "Nah, she good. We gonna figure it out. I'm trying to do this thing." He's like, "I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna do that to you because I know you want to get back in, but this is not the time to get back in." So fast forward, at the end of August, Coach Bibbs comes here at A&T, legend, and she has a position open. And she hired Tennille Adams, and I met Tennille Adams in passing through campus, and Coach Bibbs had a position and brought me on, and the rest is history, man. And it's been great, to be back. And it's crazy that I'm sitting here as the head coach, because when I was the assistant coach for Coach Bibbs, there was an AD, and I'm not going to say her name, but it was a she. She told me to go back to the men's side because I would never be a head coach, particularly here. So it's kind of ironic that, obviously she was removed, and the AD, who was the compliance coordinator when I played, Earl Hilton, who is our AD now, when Beth Cunningham left to go to Notre Dame, left VCU, he was calling me, for the opportunity to come and take leadership here.
Nice.
And it's been great, man. And as I know Kenny knows, when you grew up here, when the university raised you and you bleed it, man, it's an easy sell. You know what I'm saying? The kids and the parents feel your passion and your drive and understand, that you're here, you're gonna be here and here to stay. Hopefully. Obviously Kenny had to leave JMU, you know what I'm saying? But look, the reality of it, and I use Kenny as a perfect example. Kenny was there 15 years, right?
Yeah.
Like he was there, and in order for him to leave, they had to come get him. And Tech came and got him. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah, no doubt.
I got it. Appreciate that, man. KB, what's the secret, man? Talk to me. Listen, 19 years as a head coach, going into year 20 wins in each of the last 14 years, man. Like, talk to me. Whatever you're doing is working, Chief. So keep doing it, right? But talk to us about your journey and how you make it work for you.
You know what, man, I appreciate you guys, but, my journey is my journey. It's different. I talk to a lot of people, and a lot of people want to know, hey, what did you do? Because they want to try to follow your path. And my path was totally different, totally unique. Like Tarrell, I played at James Madison, and I started on the men's side. I was a coach on the men's side. I was actually on the men's side for 10 years. And, I always had this calling. There was a pull for me. I always loved the women's game. And when I had opportunities, I was a top assistant at James Madison, my alma mater, program I played in. And then when I got an opportunity to go to the women's side at James Madison, I turned it down the first time. When I turned it down, I talked to my wife, I talked to my mom, I talked to my academic coordinator, and for some reason I got cold feet. And then 2 years later, the same opportunity came up, for me to leave James Madison, the program I played at, to go on the women's side of James Madison. And when I took that job. In the local newspaper, they were like the headlines, local newspaper in Harrisonburg, Virginia, Brooks jumped ship, and like, I didn't want to leave the house for a couple of days because everybody was like, what are you doing? Yo, you crazy. You were going to be the next head coach on the men's side. Everybody had their opinion, but in my heart, I wanted to coach on the women's side. And so when I switched over to the women's side, I was an assistant coach on the women's side for 2 games. All right. And my head coach took a leave of absence. And that's what a lot of people don't realize too. I left the men's side as an assistant to come to the women's side as an assistant, not a head coach, as an assistant. That's how passionate I was about that opportunity. And so when my coach took a leave of absence, 2 games in, I was thrust into the position of being a head coach, which is very ironic, which is very unique. It's not the path a lot of people are going to try to emulate. And ironically, my first game I ever coached, first time I ever called a timeout, was here. We were playing against Virginia Tech. So I've come full circle, man. I've come full circle. But I think the key for me is to surround yourself with good people. Good people who, not necessarily the people who are the most qualified, not necessarily the people who, resume is the best. Find people who are going to help fit your philosophy. People who are going to have your back, genuinely have your back. Because this business, man, it can be dog eat dog. And when you get those trenches, you got to make sure you have really good people around you. And then once you can get all that into place, then it allows you to be yourself. It allows you to be the coach, the person that you are, that can spread that over your philosophy over a program. Because if you don't have all that other stuff in place, man, you can't get to it. You're always putting out fires. You always got 2 different, 3 different, 4 different messages going on. But if you got good people around you, and I'm only as good as the people I've had around me, and I've had some good ones.
Good.
That's real.
Appreciate that. That's definitely real. We talked about philosophy. Tarrell, you're gonna deny all the way up to the half court line if you got to, right? Defensively. Talk about your philosophy offensively and defensively, and um, how it has evolved over the years, and what you've seen and how it has evolved.
Well, when I took over, like the bottom line is that you wanted kids that were going to compete, play hard, and the quickest way to turn around, if you don't have someone with a skill set, is obviously there's no excuse that you have to be able to defend.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was our staple, and we were able to win 22 games my first year,
Mm-hmm.
With that mindset. But yeah, our thing, we just dictate. We try to make it hard for our opponents to do whatever they want to do. Like if you're a team that's great with counters, more than likely you have success with us. But whatever you do on paper, whatever you do on film, we're not letting you do that.
Mm-hmm.
And that has just kind of been our thing. And obviously that means, a lot of preparation. We've had practices, and it's crazy. One of our point guards today in our workouts, Kennedy Boyd, she was telling the freshmen, just wait till we have a 2-hour defensive practice. No, they're like, ain't no way you have a 2-hour defensive practice. No, we have 2-hour defensive practice. We have principles, we have drills, we have breakdowns. Like it becomes muscle memory, what we do and how we do. You know what I'm saying? We invest that time.
Mm-hmm.
Offensively, I feel like you have to do a good job of recruiting talented kids. You know what I'm saying? And putting them in situations to score. We want to score off our defense. We want to create transition. We want to score easy baskets. So obviously, we like athletes. We like young women with wingspans and that can get out and that can run. We like to share the ball. Like we've been in the MEAC, we've been one of the top, if not the top team in assists since I've been, in leadership, because we defend and then we get out and we share that ball. But defensively, I think we'll keep you in any game. Anybody that we've played and then we've had an opportunity to beat, it was because of that.
Nice. Coach Brooks, you played for a legend, man. All right, played for a legend and Lefty Driesell. Talk about some things you learned and you carry with you as a head coach, just naturally, and sometimes you don't even know, maybe unintentionally. You know what I mean? So talk about that.
Man, I tell you what, we were talking earlier, and just talking about, at the age when you're in college, you really don't grasp, everything that's being taught to you and why it's being taught to you. And sometimes kids might leave your program, they don't understand what you were doing to them and for them right at the moment, but they understand it later on. I played for Lefty Driesell, and his character is bigger than life. His personality is bigger than life. And I thought he was the craziest man in the world when I played for him. We did the things in the locker room. We laughed at him. We didn't know why he was doing it. We were, talking bad about him and whatnot. And that man gave me my start. He gave me my start. I actually worked for him for a year. Whoa. And I got to see, life on the other side. He brought me into this business. And as I get older, I find myself doing a lot of the same things that he did to us. And so now when I get together with my teammates, they still want to talk bad about Lefty. He was crazy, he was this, and I have nothing bad to say about that man. Not one bad thing to say about that man, because he taught me how to be a man. He taught me, he didn't just teach me how to be a player, he taught me how to be a man. I grew up and I learned, and I didn't just learn from my successes. I learned more from my failures. I learned more from the tough times. And, he was on me hard as a point guard, which really could have, triggered me to transfer, because this dude was crazy. He was just like on me all the time. And by sticking it out, by understanding what he was doing, by getting through the tough times, it's made me the coach that I am today, to understand how to get through those difficult times. And it's just, man, he's just genuine. He taught me how to be a man, but he didn't coddle me. He taught me tough love. And I find myself doing a lot of the same things that he did to us. He used to tell me stories all the time about Len Bias. He would tell me, hey, Kenny, I used to stack the teams against Len Bias. I used to put, all the subs and Lenny on one team and then the other starters on the other team. And I used to never call fouls for Lenny. Well, my first couple of years coaching, I had a kid, Tamara Young, who was, above and beyond anybody that I had on my squad who was, a WNBA player. And what did I find myself doing? Stacking teams against her to make her better. you know, and just doing things like that. And, you know, but he always cared about us, you know, always cared about us, always took good care of us. And, you know, our well-being was the biggest thing. And it still carries over. I still talk to him to this day.
Wow.
He follows me. He sends me notes. You know, hey, saw your game the other day. You know, this is the first time that Virginia Tech has beaten Carolina twice in a year. I mean, he's still sharp. You know, he's still sharp. And so when I get that, it puts a big chill over my body because I know this guy cares about me and he's proud of me and what I'm doing. And one of my favorite stories with him was, you know, I used to always, you know, try to lobby. This guy needs to be in the Hall of Fame. You know, this guy is Hall of Fame worthy. They wouldn't put him in for whatever reason. You know, went through the whole Len Bias situation. They would never put him in. And finally he got in. You know, he got in and he did. I don't know if you guys saw his acceptance speech, but, you know, he had everybody rolling on the floor. I mean, he's the best storyteller I've ever been around in my life. You know, he'll have you laugh and he can tell a story, whether it's about Moses Malone, whether it's about Lenny Bias, anybody, and he can captivate an audience. And in a night when you had, you know, every living legend in the building, they're all focused on him, and got them rolling. He's telling story after story, and he got to a very serious part in his speech, and he said, you know, so many people, so many players are the reason why I'm up here. And he said, I got two former players who are head coaches right now. And then he kind of paused, and then he went somewhere else. And I was like, damn, that was my opportunity. He was about to say my name. And then he just kind of went somewhere else. And a week later, I talked to him, and I congratulated him. And he was like, Kenny, he said, you know, I was trying to say your name in my speech, but I forgot it real quick, and I just went somewhere else. And I said, Coach, I said, the fact that you were thinking about me during this wonderful moment with you means everything in the world to me. And but that's just kind of guy he is, man. He wonderful man. I've learned so much from him. And if I can have as half of his impact on my players in a game of basketball as he's had, then I think I've had a successful career.
Nice. Talk about making an impact, man. That's big time. Well,
Yeah.
T-Rob, this is year 9 for you, right? Coming up? 8.
Nah, 8.
8. This year, 8.
Finished 8. Yeah.
I
finished 8. I'm
okay,
coming up
just
to
finished
9.
8. So you're coming up to 9. That's
yeah.
Year 1, you came out the gates 22 wins, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's a big time feat, right? You won 19 plus games every year except one season, man. And 5 of the 8 seasons you've been 20 plus, right? With trips to the NCAA tournament. Talk about that first year though. Like, what was special about that group, and how was it?
Well, the special thing about that group, man, I think we finished with 8 or 9 kids. Like, you know, when you taking over a program, you want to set the tone. And I talked to a lot of them now that graduated. One in particular, Tracy King, and she talks about the tour days. You know, we would go 6 to 8 in the morning, then we come back at 6 to 8 in the evening. Right. I hope that's compliance or whatever I'm telling on myself.
So 4 hours back in the day, you were good.
Yeah, and they was dropping like flies, the ones that couldn't handle it. I mean, we had a full roster, and I was like, I got to figure out who I can really go to war with and free up some scholarships. Y'all shaking your head and free up some shit. That you know, and again, as I said earlier, it was about setting the tone that we were going to be a defensive team. You know, that we were going to get after, and in return, I would allow them to play. And we had some really big wins. We beat, you know, GW that year. We beat William and Mary. We beat Elon. We had some really good wins. We beat Liberty at home. Had some tough losses too. Had to open up against Nebraska, who was number 18 in the country, you know, at the time, and then went to the MEAC and went 13-3. Won, finished in second place, lost in the semis, and then had to play James Madison in the first round at a WNIT. But look, it was a good game. It was a good game, and then Kenny called a timeout. I don't know what he said to him, but they won by double digits. You know what I'm saying? Like that is. I've lost a lot at JMU. I was assistant coach at VCU, and we've gone up there in the WNIT a few times. And Kenny, that is a crazy environment, man, that you created. You know, and I'm sorry, D, I'm gonna get back to your question,
No,
but
you're good. You're good.
just thinking back, man, like it was, the atmosphere was crazy, and to be able to compete in that and almost get a dub, you know what I'm saying, is you know, I'm okay with it because they had a winning streak. But yeah, that group set the tone, man. That first year set the tone for my second year, where we opened up at 7-1 or 8-1, which is the best start in the program's history.
Mm-hmm.
We had 24 wins, still fell short. We had a major injury
Mm-hmm.
to one of our key players, and ended up not winning our tournament, and went to the WNIT and played South Florida very tough too. Lost by 6 points in the first round. But that first year is, as you all know, is the tone setter. You know what I'm saying? It sets the tone for, you know, who you are, your brand, you know, what you want with your program, and the kids that stay, they have to embody that. And that's what I was trying to accomplish. And that's what we ended up doing. And the ones that I have the best relationships with in these 8 years are the ones those first ones that we started with, because they were so appreciative of the transition of all the things that I learned during my time at VCU, which was a great opportunity, a great 3 years that I brought back to my alma mater, and obviously had the success that we've had.
Nice. So speaking of that, you talked about that game against Nebraska. We opened up in Nebraska, but so this is my question, and this is to both of y'all, right? So my first year, we opened up at home. You know, we got the W, but the next game we go to Texas A&M to play Kennedy Carter, right? Right. So we in there for a little while, and then of course, like Coach Robinson was talking about, they pulled away, and we really got baptized, like Kennedy Carter baptized us, right? So my question to you guys is, when was the first time, or what was the first game? Who was it, and what was the first game that you got baptized and you was like, okay, I'm in college basketball now. I'm a head coach for real now.
I'll let Kenny go.
You know what? See, I'm a lot older than you guys. I'm sitting here listening to Real. He rolling off stats and, you know, how many they won by. I'm like, man, I can't remember what I had for dinner yesterday. His is better than mine. But I tell you what, there are some. I don't know if it's the first one. Definitely not the first one. But there are some, man, that sting a lot. And some of my first recollection of Tarrell was when he was an assistant at VCU. And we had some games, man, that were tight. We had good teams. They had good teams, and it was a lot of fun competing. And I was always wanting to try to hold home court. And so one game that stung the most, man, we played VCU at home, and we played them, and they beat us at home by 33 points. Okay, 33 points, 33 points, and I remember that game because I was mad at our kids. We weren't doing what we were supposed to be doing. And I didn't make any adjustments for the last, I don't know, maybe 8-10 minutes. And they just kept pouring it on us. Because it was a teaching moment for me. It was a teaching moment for me. They outplayed us. They whooped us, and they did. I don't think it was a 33-point whooping, but I made it a 33-point whooping, you know, and because we were just trying to teach. And then when I came here to Virginia Tech, there were a lot of baptisms, you know, because when you walk into the ACC, man, the toughest thing for me coming to the ACC, when I was in the CAA, we would play a VCU, but then we would have a team or two that we could regroup, and then we would play another tough team. I come here, and it's every night, man, every night you had to bring your A game because every team was just so good, you know, and had the opportunity to beat you so bad. So that first year we played, we would play Notre Dame, and I remember second quarter, they're already up by 20 some, and I'm looking around the building. I'm like, where can I go and hide? I mean, I'm like, you mean I got 2.5 more quarters of this, you know? And you know how you start doing that quick math? You like, okay, we down by 20 right now. It could be like 50, and you try to do that quick math. And you're like, what are we gonna do? You just hoping right. Somehow it's not gonna get to that point. But you know, all that stuff builds character, man. It's built character, and so now when you flip it a little bit and you get to go through that handshake line when you've beaten some of them teams that have beat you by 30 or 35, it makes it all worthwhile.
Absolutely. Rob, what you got, man? You thinking about it right
Hey,
now.
nah, but Kenny just said something, man, and this is when you know your team. When he said for 8 minutes he didn't make adjustments.
Mm-hmm.
Like I had moments like that where I felt like they had to learn lessons because
Mm-hmm.
during practice they weren't listening. They took things for granted, and I would leave the game feeling like did I do my job as a coach? Kenny just confirmed it. I mean
Mm-hmm.
he confirmed that I was doing the right thing because I feel like Kenny's one of the best out there. And you have to do that sometime, right, Kenny? You
Oh,
have to
absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
you have to let them figure it out on their own that yeah, the scout was right. You didn't follow the scout and boom, 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 and boom, 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 because they're gonna blame you anyways for the loss. So you might as well, right? You know what I'm saying? But to the question you asked, man, there's one butt whipping that I remember and I deserve it because I let UCLA come to our gym with Jordan Canada.
Ooh.
What was the forward? Monique, she's a pro too.
Yeah.
And my man, that's the shooter from Creighton, his sister. They all.
Oh.
What's his name? Kyle
Yeah,
Korver. His
Korver.
sister.
Mm-hmm.
So they dropped us by 42, I
In,
think,
in,
in Corbett. In
in
Corbett.
Ooh.
Check this out. And this was my transition period where we just won the league, went to the tournament. I lost about 6 or 7 kids, and we had like 8 freshmen
Mm-hmm.
and some pretty good returners. And I just wanted them to gain that experience. So the Monique kid, this really happened, man. We scored. She took the ball out. I remember she took the ball out,
Mm-hmm.
and she also shot the layup after she took the ball. Like, Jordan Canada had 12 assists. Corver started getting heated up, and it just became one of those shows, man. And I think that's officially when I just started sitting down and no longer standing up. Because do you know how hot it is standing up and taking one of them things?
And everybody's looking at you as you standing
What?
up.
You
I
started
can't
You know,
deal
to
with
sweat
that no
like
more.
crazy.
and you know what too funny, Terrell? Like I got the UCLA story too. We were trying to get on the upcome, and we were trying to get that signature win, and we went
Yeah.
down to a tournament down in Florida, and we were good that year, and we played UCLA, and we beat them, great signature win for us, and Corey Close was there, so they were looking for a game on the East Coast, and they wanted to play us again the next year. They started at the Convocation Center. So we played that game, packed, 6,000 people, UCLA coming to town, packed. We put it on them, beat them again by like 14. And so we had 2 straight wins against UCLA. So we had to do that return, that home and home, right? The return on the home and home. And I lost a couple key players. And so I'm like asking my assistant, do they want to back out of it? And they probably don't want to play us anymore. And he said, no, they don't want to back out of it. So we scheduled the game. So we were listening to their broadcast in the beginning of the season. They played South Carolina, and then they played us. Okay, Dawn was getting that thing going. Then they played us. And we were listening to their broadcast before they were ready to play South Carolina, a week before they played South Carolina. She didn't mention anything about South Carolina. She kept saying, James Madison's coming to town. And I'm like, uh-oh. I said, they ready. They waiting.
Right.
I said, we're not going to sneak up on them. And we got in that game, and we started playing, and towards the end of the half, they got that thing rolling. And they just kept scoring and scoring and scoring. And as I was walking off the court, I looked up at the score, and I was doing that quick math again. I'm like, what's that, is that 19? And then I rubbed my eyes. I said, no, that's 29. So I'm like, do we have to go back out? But you know what? It was a learning experience. And I can hold that over their head the rest of the year.
Talk a little bit about that, and from both of you guys. When you do come back from losses like that, what's you guys' approach after coming back from a loss like that? And I know it varies at times, but what are your thoughts coming back from a loss like that?
For me, you just mentioned it too, Darnell. It's you got to take the temperature of your team. It depends on when it is during the season. Is it a teaching moment? Can you afford to teach them? Can you afford to be hard on them and be, kind of like, see, I told you, and that kind of deal? Or is it a very, very fragile part of the year where maybe you lost 2 in a row and then you lost a heartbreak or a game, something like that? And that's why I'm not always big a fan of like these mock interviews or things like that, because you can't take the temperature of the room, you can't take the temperature of the team and how it's really going, the emotional part of it. And so there have been plenty of times where I've walked in, and this year included, I walked in and I just threw the tape away. We came in the next day and we were playing music to try to, remember it. And then there's been days where I use it as a tool and got on them, see, I told you. And so I think that's where you really got to be in tune with your team.
Absolutely.
That's why you got to really be, in tune with them, their personality, where they are, because, end of the day, man, they're fragile. They're fragile. They're kids. They're kids, and you got to make sure that what state of mind they're in, and try to get something, because it can linger. It can linger. So it all depends on the time of the year.
Man, Kenny, you hit the nail on the head, man. You hit the nail on the head. You have to know the temperature. Like, one of the things that I know that you can measure is their effort, while it's going on, while the massacre is happening. You know what I'm saying? Because they're emotional, and then you start to sub, and then some kids lose themselves in the game, and they think they're playing, doing what you want to do. Nah, you're not running our stuff. You're not executing. It looks like to me you're just trying to score against this team to say that you scored.
Right.
Kenny hit the nail on the head. You have to know your group. You have to know, like, is it a game that we should win? That's the reality. Even with wins, did we perform well in this win? And that is how I operate. Like, there's such things as bad wins. And you got to be careful with that too, because you'll lose them in that. If you have an experienced group, they understand the expectations, they understand how we're supposed to play, and that we follow scouts. So if you have a young group don't really understand why you win, and we won, why are you making it like we did? And I made that mistake my 3rd year. I had one of Kenny's former kids on my team. We're not saying no names, but that kid called me out on that. We won 3 games in a row, and I just wasn't satisfied. I'm like, what are y'all? We're not playing the right way. Why are these games close to that? It's at home. And that person started that type of stuff, and it ended up, cursing us the entire season. I remember it to this day, and that was the most talented team that I've had, and the most underachieving team. Because we opened the season up, we're 17th ranked mid-major, we're rolling, but I'm trying to push for more. I'm trying to get more out of them, and they thought they was giving me more, and maybe they were. Maybe I was out of my mind, but that person planted those seeds, and my voice became silent. It became silent, and our trajectory started to go downward. So you definitely have to have and that was my 3rd year. You got to have an awareness. You got to know, the temperature in the room. You got to know the kids that you have, their maturity level, whether or not they understand. And it's tough, man.
Yeah,
it's tough.
Now, Coach
we
Brooks.
good with not saying names. Kenny knows who I'm talking about too.
I know exactly who you're talking about.
Yeah.
Coach Brooks, you produced pros, man, at James Madison. Namely, you spoke with her earlier, Tamara Young, going from a mid-major to what number did she go in the draft?
She was 7.
Number 7 in the draft.
He remember that number.
Yeah, I do.
No doubt. And then you've had others with Gwaltney and Okafor, man. But what set those kids apart, you think? What set them apart outside of talent?
Yeah. Obviously, they're talented, but those kids had the best work ethic that you could ever imagine. And they had this desire to be the best. They had this confidence that they didn't care who they were going to go up against. They cherished opportunities to go up against the best. and they worked harder than anybody I've ever had. And a lot of people say, well, how do you get them to play so hard? It's inside of them, and they wanted something, and we gave it to them. We kept challenging them, and we were always great at James Madison because my best players, all right, my best players were the hardest working players,
Mm-hmm.
and I could always hold them accountable. I could always hold them accountable. Whether it was Tamara, I remember stories with Tamara. I remember we played one year. I had Tamara Young and Tarrell knows Dawn Evans, and they were on the same team. And we played against Maryland, and they had Christy Tolliver, they had Laura Harper, they had
Mm-hmm.
Crystal Langhorne. They had them all, and they came to the JMU Convocation Center. And Christy Tolliver is from Harrisonburg, and so when they announced Christy Tolliver's name, the whole Convocation Center, erupted. And I looked at Tamara, and the look on her face, I ain't have to give a speech. I just said, all right, let's go. And Tamara went out there, was best player on the floor. 30 points. She didn't care. She was coming at you. Dawn Evans the same way. Jazz Guapmi. And they allowed me to coach them, man. They allowed me to coach them hard. They told me they wanted to be pros. They told me they wanted to be in WNBA. All right, so if you want to be that, you got to let me coach you a different way. All right, you got to let me get after you hard. You got to let me, like Tarrell said, okay, I had to find that balance where, yeah, you had 25. One time, Tamara Young had 25 points, 22 rebounds, and we got into the gym. We got into the locker room at the end of the game. And I said, you should have had 30 and 30. But she allowed me to do that.
Let you do it.
She allowed me to do it. And you know what? Instead of being disgruntled like what Tarrell was talking about, she was like, bet. All right, got you. Got you. Dawn Evans, same way. Jazz Guapmi, same way. Jazz Guapmi went 12th in the draft.
Mm-hmm.
And why she go 12th in the draft? Because she allowed me to coach her hard. She allowed me to coach her hard, and it also made our team great because I remember we were about to go into the CAA tournament, Jazz's senior year, and I'm uptight because we got to win it because one bid league, you got to win, you got to win, you got to get there. We're 29-3, whatever, and people told me you don't win it, you ain't getting in the tournament. We're 29-3. I'm like, all right, so I'm a little uptight. And I remember the practice before we were about to go down to the tournament. And I just ripped into Jazz all day long because I was uptight and I was trying to get everybody else going. And if I knew that if they saw me ripping Jazz, all right, that they were going to be okay. Oh man, if he's ripping Jazz, I better step it up because he can rip me too because he's ripping Jazz and she's my star player. Well, I ripped her, for stuff she didn't even do. And she just looked at me and it was this understanding, man. And it was like, all right. And then when I got home, she sent me a text. She's like, we good? I said, yeah, we good. I was just sending a message, but she allowed me to do that. She understood, who we are. And that's what makes those kids great. That's what makes those kids take their talent, which there's a lot of kids who are talented. A lot of kids are talented, but they allowed me to get to that next level because they knew I loved them. They knew I was doing everything I was doing to them was for them. And they allowed me to do that. And to this day, man, those are the kids that every birthday, every Christmas, I just talked to Tamara 3 times this week, just about nothing, that because they know I love them, I was able to push them like that. And they trusted me. It allowed them to go out there and be as good as anybody we ever played against. And that's the reason that those kids got to that next level because I've had some kids who are talented. They didn't allow me to coach them like that. And they weren't able to get to that point. They could have gotten to that point. And now I'm so proud. Now I'm so excited. Now I got a couple here at Tech who they're going to be pros. They're going to be pros because they allow me to coach them. They allow me to get into that next level because they know that I care about
them. That's deep.
That's good stuff, man.
So you got COVID-19 going crazy, right? Numbers been going up all over the country. Tarrell, what are some ways you're managing your staff and your players mentally with this stuff that's going on, man?
We've been having Zoom sessions Tuesday, Thursday, having people come and speak and inspire them. And I think that is important. Like we're right now, the only time we come on campus is for workouts. Other than that, we're off campus, classes of distance learning, and their minds,
Mm-hmm.
as far as what's going on right now, there's some issues. When you're talking pre-COVID, and that's how I talk to them. Pre-COVID,
Right.
that was okay. Now we have to follow a different type of guidelines and procedures. But since we've started working out the last 2 weeks, obviously their body's taking a toll, so their focus is a little bit different, and you're challenging them as far as things that you're teaching, and they're looking forward to it. But prior to the first 2 weeks, when we tested them, we're waiting back for the results. We had two of my best captains, and I evaluate my captains by, I use the word overachieving. What I'm saying? There's two teams that I've coached in 8 years that overachieved, and it was because of the leadership. And I had those two young women speak to them about their sacrifices. Because the crazy thing, man, that young people don't understand, when you're a part of a team, you don't decide what the sacrifice is. When it comes up, you just got to do it because it's what's best for the family or for the team. And the two young women, Tracy King, Consuela Story, Taja Cole's sister, they were fantastic leaders, and I wanted them to really talk to our young women about what's ahead. With us having such a young group, we were fortunate enough to have Brianna Stewie from the Seattle Storm
Saw that.
open the summer up and speak to our young women. And it's crazy. It's the same stuff you say, but somebody that they respect and
Exactly.
and that's done it on a high level. So I didn't even go. I didn't look. Check it out. I didn't even check into the Zoom. I told them. I said, I'm not gonna go. She's gonna say what we've been saying, because it ain't no secret ingredients to this. You got to make up your mind. Like Kenny said, the three young women that we was talking about, they had their mind made up. I want to do this, and I'm gonna ride with you to do it. You know what I'm saying? And that is what Stewie was saying. We recorded it, so I had a chance to watch it, and it was the same stuff. And it's like, it's not a secret, man. You have to make up your mind if you want to be great, if you want to be a pro, if you want to have success, especially when you have talent, to just get it done. So we've been doing stuff like that, man, and it really paid off. And I reference it now in workouts when we have those moments where they don't want to listen or they think they know. So yeah, it was good. It's been good so far as what we've been doing, during COVID.
Good. What about you, Kenny? How's it been going?
It's tough. It's tough because we as coaches, all our careers, we've always been able to take care of the kids. We always had the answer to whatever their questions were.
Right.
We recruit them and we tell them, we're going to take care of you. We're going to take care of you. So when anything pops up, you always able to give them the question. For me, the tough part is not knowing the answers, to it. And when they ask about something, hey, coach, what do you know about the season? And I can't give them a definite. That's the hard part. And I think the one thing that we really focused on is just taking care of their mental. Because you think about all this stuff, man. 2020 has been kind of crazy. It started off, man, with Kobe and his situation. And it just seemed like it just kept going and going and going. And we played Clemson, and we played Clemson, beat Clemson really, really good, and had a great showing, good turnout, alumni weekend, everything going on. And then before I can get in the locker room, they were like, hey, Kobe passed away. I'm like, Kobe who? And then I had to go in there after a big celebratory win,
right.
And you got to deal with their mental. All right, you got to deal with their mental. And then you go and we have a tremendous year. Finally break through, going to make the tournament. And then they pull the rug out from us. They take the tournament away from us. I got to deal with their mental. I got to make sure their mental is okay. All right, COVID is really strong. They send them home. I got to deal with their mental. Then we have all the race issues in America. I got to deal with their mental. So for me, this past week, just being on the court, man, it's just been a blessing because I just been worried about their mental, constantly texting, constantly FaceTiming. I don't even want anything, but I'm still texting them. Yeah, how you doing? What's going on? What y'all doing? And just trying to, like Tarrell said, we do Zooms.
Yeah, that's what we
do. But I've had to do it on a more personal level. FaceTime, one-on-one. Hey, how you doing? What's going on? Blah, blah, blah. And so just that's our responsibility. We got to win games. We're going to win games, but we got to make sure we're taking care of these kids and making sure their mental capacity is up there because they're fragile right now. And we have them. I tell recruits all the time, we have you during your most influential stage of your life. Because you get here, you think you're grown, you're not grown, and you got to make grown decisions while you're doing it. But we got to be there to help facilitate that. And through all this stuff right now, man, we've really been focusing on the kids, their mental state, and making sure they're okay that way.
That's it's key in all of our, especially in our program, man, and especially with some of our kids had some hit close to home, and they have to deal with it hitting close to home. You know what I mean? And that mental aspect, and you got class, and you got and now you worried about what's going on at home, and you worried about what's going on, around you. So I just think just continuously, like you said, Kenny, just checking on them mentally, man, and seeing where they are and bringing people in, like you talked about, Tarrell, to talk with them. And it leads into my next question, and I'll start with you, Tarrell. Like, so the life of a head coach, everybody think life of a head coach, you playing, you doing basketball. All you do is you wear sweatsuit and you coach basketball all day, right? But it encompasses many different things as the head honcho in a program, right? You're the CEO, man, and I want you to talk to us about some ways you manage your program and keep their minds focused on the core beliefs of your program and your core beliefs, and how they can be how they can be successful as a North Carolina A&T Aggie in life.
Kenny said it earlier, man. I can't do it alone. You got to have a staff that is equipped, to be an extension, of you. There's so many things that you have to, as you said, the CEO or as the leader, to make sure that your brand is right, that you got to empower, not micromanage. You know what I'm saying? Because my personal opinion, if you want someone to be confident, then you show confidence in them and allow them to do the job, and my staff does a great job of being an extension. You know what I'm saying? I lay down the groundwork, and they do an excellent job of making sure that it's done. You know what I'm saying? Siobhan Earp said this last night, man. She should be a head coach. You know what I'm saying? She's one of the best in the business. And she's like a head coach here, like no BS. They will call her before they call me. Well, right. They don't want the repercussions of dealing with me, but they call her like she is. She answers the questions, and sometimes when they call me, have you talked to Coach Earp? So she does a great job. She does a great job in helping me, manage this program and instilling, like, she does all the behind the scenes things. I'm like, oh man, thank you. I wasn't even thinking about that, because I was dealing with this, or I might have been focusing on one kid and one parent, and she just took care of the rest of the team. We might have lost the game and had a recruit in the stands, and I don't feel like talking. She's gonna go ahead and clean that up for me. So she does so much, and it is so much about your staff. It's not just me, and I don't want to take credit for it, even our success.
Right.
And Kenny knows is having assistant coaches for a long time. They know you. They know your mood. You know what I'm saying? They have a feel of how things are supposed to go, and my staff has been great in that. Like, we do so much in terms of supporting our young women, and but I could not do it at all without the people that I surround myself with.
Right. None of us could, man. That's a big point, and I know, Kenny, I talked to my girl, man, and we talked about that. But what about you and your staff? What qualities are you looking for in somebody to help you take that program to prominence?
Well, I think we were talking about this earlier before we started recording. But you don't always want to get somebody who has the best resume or the best credentials. You got to find somebody who's gonna be a great fit. To deal with your personality. Like Tarrell said, sometimes they got to know your mood. They got to be able to handle your mood. Because a lot of times when assistants don't understand, they don't understand that seat of the head coach. Sometimes I call it head coach syndrome. Sometimes we thinking about 10 things different down the line, instead of being in the moment. And we got to have somebody who's going to be able to cover for you, be able to put you in the right direction. But the main thing is, man, I want people who are willing and able to grow. You know, I'm fortunate enough that I have six former assistant coaches who are head coaches. And so for me, you know, that's something. And I like to think that I've helped facilitate some of that to get them ready. You know, I involve them in everything that I do. You know, I'll bring them in on some of those hard meetings so that when they get their opportunity, they're ready, they're prepared for it. And but you got to have people, man, who are going to help you have one philosophy. You know, you can't say one thing and then behind your back they're saying something different. Your program will never take off. Your program will never get to where it needs to be. It's got to be one heartbeat, man, one heartbeat. You know, now trust me. I want everybody's opinion. I want their suggestions. All right. I always tell them though, you know, if I don't take your suggestion, doesn't mean it was a wrong one.
Right.
It's just I went with a different one. You know, we're all on the same team. We're gonna try to get it. So you got to have great people, man. I've been fortunate. You know, people who have gone on to become head coaches, who have gone on to become successful head coaches, and you know, you like to think that it's because we all have one philosophy, and that's a big key because there's so many challenges out there today. So many challenges. And this past year, I've dealt with more challenges than I've ever dealt with before as a head coach, just because of the climate of society, you know, dealing with, you know, the pandemic, which is unprecedented. For me, man, dealing with the racial issues,
right?
You know, and being here at Virginia Tech, you know, we have, you know, we're not 50-50 on white and black, but you know, I have a lot of white kids, and, you know, so I had to navigate through that. You know, I had to navigate through that whole scenario because, you know, I got to take care of my black kids who are going through some troubling times and they got to understand it. But I also had to take care of my white kids who didn't understand any of it, you know, and I had to educate them. You know, I had to educate them during a time where I was at my most vulnerable state because I've been black in America for 51 years. And all of a sudden I was able to talk about it. You know, I was able to talk about it. And, you know, I had to make sure I had really good people around me that were helping me facilitate that, you know, because I had to have a lot of different conversations to try to bring everybody to the middle, you know, stretch to the middle, bring to the middle, because, you know, some kids were angry because of the situation and how it, you know, it happened. Some kids just didn't understand. And then, you know, I had to open myself up and be vulnerable, man, vulnerable, talking about, because they look at us as power, you know,
right,
people of success.
Right.
And, you know, when I had to open up my whole situation about, you know, being degraded as a black man, being degraded as a black kid, or, you know, some of the things, you know, I was vulnerable and I had to make sure I had good people around me that were still uplifting me. So, you know, you got to have a great staff, man. You can't do it all by yourself.
Nope.
You cannot do it all by yourself, and you got to have good people around you.
I definitely agree with both of you guys, man. My staff this year, just phenomenal. They've gotten older. They understand me more, you know, and they understand. They do a great job with our group, man. And I'm thankful for each and every one of them. And all three of them are really great. Are going to be great coaches, and if they want to be, they're going to be really good head coaches. All three of them. So I appreciate them tremendously. So I really want to thank both of you guys for this tonight. I don't want to hold you guys too long, but I want to thank both of you guys for this tonight. This has been tremendous. I mean, I get a chance to, I got you guys on the Zoom. I got a chance to learn and pick some brains. This is free education right here, man. But I appreciate you guys, man. This has been dope. This has been awesome. Forward from here. If you guys need anything from me on my end, just feel free to reach out, man. And I know T-Rod, we've been in some little battles, man, you know, recruiting, but it's all good.
Hey, Dion.
Dang, hold on. Are we? Hold on. What you talking about?
No.
Hold on, man. Hold on.
It's all good. It's all good. But you know,
what's going?
No, I'm messing with you.
Hey, D, I do want to say, man. I tell you what. I know I'm the old head of the group, but you know, it's been a pleasure of mine to watch both of you guys grow, man. And I say grow because, you know, I watch both you guys as assistants, and I've been a head coach a little bit longer. Mm-hmm. So what you do, you watch people from afar. Mm-hmm. You know, you watch people from afar, and you know, when Tarrell was in the CAA, When he left, I was happy as heck, man. You know, because I know he was doing a great job. But you know, he made me better. Right. He made me better. I've always admired him. Always rooted for him. Tremendous coach. A&T, they're lucky to have him, man. Lucky to have him because, you know, I think he does a phenomenal job. You yourself, you know, both of you guys, man, I consider you like little brothers, you know, and, you know, root for you guys. And, you know, when your situation came up, you know, I didn't hesitate. You know, you called me up. I didn't hesitate, you know, talking to your AD and, you know, giving you glowing recommendations. I knew you could do a phenomenal job, you know. So both of you guys, man, keep doing it. You're making me proud. I'm happy as hell for you guys. Root for you guys. You know, and it's, we don't get our opportunities very often, you know, and, you know, a lot of times, man, people used to look at me and they used to say, you're doing it for all of us. And I didn't know what that meant, you know, and I was always like, you know what, now really at this stage of my life, I'm doing it for me because I'm trying to make sure I'm going to continue on. But the older I got, man, you know, watching you two dudes and being able to help whatever I can, then I understood who I am doing it for. And I'm helping generations behind me, you know, young Black males who want to be women's basketball coaches, who love being women's basketball coaches. Right. And now you guys are doing the same thing, man. You're doing the same thing, not only by, you know, what you're doing on the court, but the way you represent and carry yourselves off the court. You know, both you guys are gentlemen and you hell of a coaches. So keep doing it, man. I root for you guys and, you know, forever.
Thanks, man.
I appreciate that. But Kenny, I'm going to tell you, man, you are the blueprint, brother. You're the blueprint. Look, I can listen to you all night. Look, Haney, I'll catch Kenny on the court, man, and I just want to hear whatever story he got because he have a lot of it, man. Right. And I cherish every moment of it. Kenny, much respect, man. You are the blueprint. You set the tone. You raised the bar, and we're just trying to live up to it.
I
Absolutely.
appreciate it, man.
You got much respect to both of you guys, man. You guys are both doing a hell of a job. Continue to do what you do. Let's do more of this.
Absolutely.
I think this is important. You know, we don't do a lot of it. I mean, the game is the game. You know, like recruiting is recruiting. The game is the game, man. We just need to do more of this and come together. And I'm good on doing it whenever. Y'all want to do something every week, I'm with it. You know what I mean? So just so we keep this together and have a bond like some other people have. You know what I mean? And they look at each other. So let's make sure that we doing that and moving forward in this, man. I appreciate both of y'all, man. Let's keep it going.
Count me in.
All day.
You saw how quick I agreed to it, so count me in anytime, man.
And let's do it.
Appreciate it, Haney. This is good stuff.
Yeah,
all
man.
Right.
Good.
All
Y'all
right,
be good.
Have a good one.
Take care.
All right.
Where you from?